Okay, we've got everything set up, so let's finally start writing some code for this project. I've set up a very basic theme, which you can see right here, and a basic plugin so that I can demo some ways that we can make your plugin code leaner and better by using features from the newer versions of PHP. If you're releasing your plugins for a wide audience, you'll want to think about what version of PHP that you're going to require. But I'll be demonstrating features from 5.3 and 5.4. Here you can see the beginnings of a very basic plugin. Most plugins use global functions. Namespaces will allow us to scope our plugin code so that we don't have to use really long, ridiculous function names or class names, just so we don't have to worry about global naming collisions. Let's add a namespace to the top of this plugin file. We're using Road's Some Cool plugin for now. The names will get better for things as we go on, I promise. Now any functions or classes that we write in this file can have clear, concise names. For instance, create post types. Now one thing to notice here is that add action expects something callable as its second parameter. Normally what we do here is just add a string like we've done right here. WordPress will assume, if that's a string, that it's the name of a global function. Because it's looking globally, it's going to need to have the entire namespace added with the escaped backslashes inside. But let me just show you to verify that this is working. And here we see now we have our creating some post types message showing up. What would be nice is if we could pass something else to add action besides a string. PHP 5.3 introduced a callable called a lambda, or an anonymous function. A lambda is a function without a name, so instead of this named function, we can actually turn it into a lambda just by removing the name and assigning it to a variable. This allows us to pass the variable here, which you can see is already better than passing the entire namespaced function. Let's just make sure that worked. We'll change our message and then take a look in the browser. Refresh, and we have our new message. In many cases, we don't even need to save a lambda to a variable at all. We can actually add the lambda in line to the add action method directly. If we modify our message again, our message has changed. Great. This has already made our plugin code a lot simpler and cleaner, but we can do better by turning this into a class. And that will also get us ready to build our object-oriented plugin in the next video. So let's replace this add action block with a class. All that's happening in this class is we have a constructor which takes an options array, it sets a message on the object by calling a function that's defined here, create content type. This is where you would actually create the content type. For now, we'll just return a fake success message that uses the type that was passed into the options array. If you call print message, it will echo out that message for you. We'll use this to quickly create a new instance of this class. And we'll use the type called location for now. If you look here, you'll see that this is PHP 5.4 array syntax. If you're used to seeing the word array spelled out, in 5.4 you can actually use a more JavaScript-like bracket notation. Now that we have our objects set up, we'll use add action once again just to verify the plugin's working. Here is one other way we can pass something callable to this function. This is another array using the 5.4 syntax. The first item in the array is any object. We're using the object we just created. The second item in the array should be a string again, but this time it's a string identifying a method on the object that you just passed. So we're using the print message method. This allows you to use object-oriented code and pass things to the hooks in a really powerful way. You're going to see this a lot as we continue on. And here it is, working great. The last thing I'll show you is one more PHP 5.4 feature that's incredibly powerful and has been getting a lot of attention. They're called traits. Traits allow you to reuse blocks of code without having to inherit from another class. Here we have an empty trait, and it's namespaced just like everything else is on this page. So this will now be in roads, some cool plugin, create posts. Now it's empty now, so it does nothing. But if we were to move our create content type function out of the class and into the trait, this block of code is now able to be called into any other class that we want. So if back in random class, we call that trait in with the keyword use. But this allows you to pull in blocks of code into multiple classes and multiple blocks of code into one class and kind of make remixable, reusable sections of your classes, which is really powerful. If we change this message to you created a new content type with traits, you can see that it's taken effect. Remember, you always have to decide what version of PHP you're going to require for any of your code. In the next video, I promise we'll finally begin writing some real plugin code for our project by creating a post type class that will really simplify creating new content types.